Have you ever wondered how high Atom might go in the 2025 bullish market? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my Atom price prediction for 2025, how high I think the price action could be going. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump into the charts and take a look at what's going on with Atom. Okay, guys, so here is Atom paired up with USDT. We are on the one-day Binance chart here for Atom. Now, in order for us to be predictive over where we think the future is going for Atom, we need to use a few tools to help us understand market structure based on the buying and selling behaviors of, well, the participants. To do that, we are going to use price analysis rather than using technical indicators. Technical indicators like your EMAs, your SMAs, your MACDs, even your stochastic RSIs, your relative strength indexes, they're all great for the here and the now, and they kind of work by showing you what's just happened or happening in the charts, but they don't really give you the predictive capabilities in the same way that price analysis would. So we're going to use Elliott wave, which is a really complex subject. A lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people do believe in it. It works 100% of the time when you back test it and you apply the rules correctly. It has a structure for every single scenario. There are a couple of caveats with it though. You need a highly liquid market, so it's not going to work on your micro cap coins. It's just too illiquid. Price rapidly moves up and down and it doesn't adhere to structure. However, if it's a highly liquid market, then Elliott wave is highly accurate. Okay, so we're going to use that, and we're going to use Fibonacci retracement tools as well. That's these tools here. This is used in conjunction with Elliott wave to use the Fibonacci areas for the psychological elements, right? So Elliott wave tracks the behaviors of the buyers and the sellers, and based on their behavior, you should expect a certain outcome. That works in line with your Fibonacci levels. The Fibonacci levels are areas where psychologically people are going to react to the price levels. Okay, so when things are, 61% higher than when they bought it, for example, psychologically people like to take profits. It's these kind of elements. Okay, now for reference, these are the levels on my Fibonacci charts. So you can pause this here if you want to copy these settings. It's entirely up to you. Starts at 0, goes to 0.236, 0.382, 0.5, 0.618, 0.786. Then down here I've got a 0.882. We then go to 1. We then go to 1.236, a 1.382, and 1.618. I also include 0.702. It's not a fib level, but it is an area that Bitcoin reacts to. So I've put that in the chart as well. Okay, so the other thing that's worth noting is I have this little tick box at the bottom, which is basically fib levels based on log scale. If I untick that, you'll see those lines changing. Okay, my chart is in logarithmic, therefore my Fibonacci retracement tool must be in logarithmic too. By default, that is switched off. So if you're in log scale, you must tick that on. Otherwise, you're just going to get all the wrong numbers. Okay, cool. So that's the first premise of what we need to discuss. Those are the tools that we're using. Okay, let's talk about what's happened historically, because the behavior is more than likely going to repeat itself. People don't tend to change their habits all that often. Okay, now things could change, but for the most part, we need to analyze the behavior in the previous bullish market and assume that people are going to behave in a very similar way going forward, unless, of course, there's a reason to do something different, which I don't think there is at the moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this, right? So from our March 2020 low, which seems like a very long time ago, but I do remember it almost like it was yesterday. It was a fantastic time to be in the crypto market. Not such a great time, of course, in the non-digital world with all the lockdowns and stuff that were going on. But nonetheless, this was a low point for Atom, which came in at $1.06.1. We then obviously had a bullish market through 2020 into 2021. I'm just going to check. I think this is the wick high over here, coming in at a high of $44.70, and this one is $44.80. That's actually the high there. Okay, so we have a low point of $1.06, and we went up to $44.08. Now, I know a lot of people are skeptical, right? They haven't necessarily seen a bullish market before, and they say, how on earth can X project go to, such significant heights? Now, let's just put this into context, right? Bullish markets are absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, so this particular project, Atom, went from $1 to $44, right? 44x. approximately. Actually, it's a little bit less than that. It's actually a 41x, right? 4,108% move. That's actually incredibly low considering other projects that rallied 10,000, 12,000. You saw, I think it was Cardano at 17,500. We saw Polygon's Matic rallying over 47,000%, right? And then, of course, you can go into the meme coin world where some of those did absolutely mind-blowing numbers. But my point here is that this still did phenomenally well. It outperforms Bitcoin. It outperformed Ethereum, for example. It did phenomenally well. So 41x, 4,108%, right? Phenomenally well. But the structure in which it got there was a little bit irregular. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to focus in on here. So you can see this initial surge right here, and I'm going to draw a fib on there. Okay, you can see a very choppy move here, then a big kind of run up towards the end. It went from $1 to $8.87 in a reasonably short space of time, right? We're talking about going from the 13th of March through to the 25th of August. August was a bit of a corrective month. We did see that. And then, of course, we see this next run to the upside. And, well, we come up into the typical range. We hit the typical range, had a correction, and then moved up into one more final kind of blast up top. Now, the reason that I said this was irregular, it was irregular in the way that it kind of structured it out, because it wasn't really tracking the kind of ideal kind of perfect movements from an Elliott wave point of view. Because, you know, we had this additional kind of bullish market peak up in September 2021 after the May 2021 highs. This actually pushed a lot higher than maybe it should have done, but actually the patterns in which it formed this was under a WXY X and Z. And the reason that's unusual is that normally a WXY X and Z pattern would have pushed up significantly further before it kind of got into that kind of retracement. But of course, the market did turn from the lunar kind of debacle and everything else that was going on with that. But anyway, nonetheless, we know what happened and we know why the sentiment shifted and changed. The main takeaway in this particular piece of analysis is to understand the structures in which went on here. Okay, so we followed the idea of a W, X, Y, X, and Z pattern. That could have been different. It could have been something vastly different longer term, but it is what it is today. Okay, and this is the structure and the behaviors that led into it. Now, this particular pattern isn't bad, okay, but it isn't a trend. Okay, and this is the main takeaway. So in the bullish market, Atom wasn't trending to the upside. Instead, Atom had mini trends and corrections multiple times whilst on this journey to the upside. Okay, a W, X, Y, X, and Z is known as a triple zigzag pattern. A zigzag pattern is an A, B, and C, A, B, and C. And inside the A, B, and C, you have mini trends. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 structures going on inside the A, the C's, right? So inside of that, we know that there were mini trends to the upside, but overall, the macro picture remained very much a short-term move rather than a big long-term bullish move. Then, of course, we get into the bearish market. Now, the bearish market turned a lot more impulsive, a lot more aggressive than maybe what we would have wanted to have seen for Atom. And now, in this particular area, we can see a very big break to the downside going on here, but it doesn't really have any kind of major concerns because it still falls in line a macro corrective pattern. Okay, and this particular pattern actually consists of multiple corrective ABC structures. Okay, now we can see some in here. Run A, B, and C like so, for example. You can also see them just over this side, A, B, and C. And then, of course, we have the most recent moves to the downside, also tracking a very interesting structure, ABC, ABC, A, B, and C. So again, you end up with another triple zigzag pattern here, A, B, W, X, Y, X, and Z pattern, like so. Okay, so very, very interesting. We have these kind of really big kind of sharp movements, more trending to start with into the June 2022 lows. And then from that, after that initial kind of 335 corrective pattern, which looks like this, by the way, guys, A, B, and C structure, very irregular, but it is what it is. And then we have this next kind of choppy move going on here, corrective patterns, and more corrective patterns. Now, why is this good news, bad news, right? So when we kind of zoom out of this macro picture, we can say that, okay, well, Atom has behaved through very corrective structures. It hasn't had the behavior of what we would see with other really big, impulsive, trend-based altcoins. Now, is that bad? Not necessarily bad, but is it good? Not necessarily either, right? So we kind of sit in this middle ground. We shouldn't be expecting the world, but we could be expecting some pretty familiar and similar patterns to what we've seen before. Micro trend movements with profits being taken regularly. Okay, so I wouldn't be too kind of hard done by if we were to see another kind of 2,000% or something to that effect, considering we are quite low to its bear market low point, which happens to be down here, coming in, I think that's August 5th, right? September 6th even, right? So down here at $3.61.5. We're still finding resistances, of course, but for the most part, this actually isn't that bad. So if we do repeat history here a little bit, I don't think we'll be going necessarily for a full 4,000%, because I do think the market dilutes down over time and just supply changes, and ultimately everything comes down to supply demand metrics. And I think as supply changes, it becomes quite difficult to see those kind of progressions again. But nonetheless, I do see us moving out into new all-time highs. At least there's the potential for new all-time highs when it comes to Atom. I really like the technology, by the way, guys. I think it's got some really good, strong use cases around it, and I think it does have potential to go significantly further if adoption allows. The problem is competition and regulation, really, across the board. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens to Atom going forward. But considering all the technical data, I do still see potential moves up a little bit higher. There's going to be resistance though, and those resistances are going to be pretty much where the previous all-time high was. So I look at the chart here and I'd say that we're going to find resistance between $36 and $69, and the potential, the true potential of kind of bull market peaks, considering another 4,000%, which I don't think is going to happen, but if it did, it would put us at about $153. So for the most part, I think we should be kind of aiming conservatively. From the current price at the point of recording, we'll be talking about another 600% to about 1,200%, and I think that's actually really reasonable. You talk about 6 to 12 X's on an investment, it isn't bad, and I think that's a nice, reasonable kind of expectation to have. There are a couple of other areas of concern that I would have, specifically around the 382 that comes in right here. There's going to be this little pocket of resistance that we have to kind of get through. That's going to be between $15 and $21. So if we can get past that, then I'd have pretty much a decent kind of expectation for 36 towards 69 on that kind of price point. Of course, maybe there's some reasons, some wild card reasons that we might push out towards $153, towards 370, big bullish numbers, of course, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I would be more conservative, but hold on to maybe 10% of the bag as we dollar cost average out of the market, just in case we do hit a $153 Atom price. But of course, these are just my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts as I see it. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server and we can continue the conversations down there. Guys, if you found this informative, useful in any way, smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe, and don't forget to check out this video right here. It's not one that you want to miss.